Skipping asset inventory is like leaving back doors unlocked and forgetting they're even there. That's where most attacks actually begin. Welcome to the show. This podcast is part of a series we created at CyberOps Source to help our customers and the broader community understand the CIS Critical Security Controls in a practical, approachable way. This is not a certification course, it's not a vendor pitch, and it's not meant to overwhelm you with jargon. It's meant to teach. We created this podcast to break down complex cybersecurity concepts into clear, real-world explanations you can actually use, whether you're technical, non-technical, or somewhere in between. Let's get it.
The deep dive. So I want to start today by planting a really specific image in your head.
All right, I'm with you.
Okay, so picture your house. You've gone completely overboard on security. I mean, you've got the reinforced steel deadbolts on the front door. You have iron bars on the windows, cameras covering the driveway.
The whole 9 yards.
The whole 9 yards, exactly. Maybe even, a high-tech laser tripwire in the hallway, like something out of a spy movie.
Yeah.
You feel completely 100% locked down. But what if I told you there was a side door to the garage that you completely forgot existed?
Oh, that's a horrible feeling.
Not that you left it unlocked. You literally forgot it was part of the floor plan. And right now, as we speak, that door is wide open.
That is the stuff of nightmares, is that, that feeling in the pit of your stomach. But honestly, in the world of cybersecurity, that isn't just a scary story.
It's the reality.
It is the default state for a staggering number of organizations.
And that is exactly what we are unpacking today. We usually talk about the flashy stuff here, sophisticated AI hackers, zero-day exploits, these Mission Impossible scenarios.
All right.
But today, we are looking at a stack of reports that suggest the most catastrophic risks actually come from simple, boring blind spots. We are diving into the CIS Critical Security Controls, and we are zooming all the way in on control number 1.
Inventory and control of enterprise assets.
Exactly.
It sounds incredibly dry, doesn't it? Inventory and control. It sounds like something an accountant does in a basement with a clipboard.
It really does. But the mission for this deep dive is to flip that script. We need to explain why you absolutely cannot protect what you don't know exists.
I mean, it's that fundamental.
And we aren't just looking at the theory. We've got a really solid mix of sources today to back this up. We're pulling insights from the CIS assessments by CyberOps Source, their guide on the foundation for security, and this is the part that kept me up last night, some breach data covering 2024 through 2026 involving shadow assets.
The data is startling.
Yeah.
It really, really paints a picture of why this matters so much right now.
So let's start at the bedrock. What exactly is Control 1? Because it sounds simple, but I have a feeling there is more to it.
Yeah, if you strip away all the jargon, Control 1 is.
Yeah.
It's really the directive to actively manage every single device that touches your environment.
Every single one.
Every single one. We are talking physical laptops, virtual servers, remote smartphones, cloud instances, smart devices, you name it.
Wow.
The goal is to get to a state where only authorized assets are allowed to access data, and the unauthorized ones are kicked out immediately.
So at a surface level, it's just making a list.
It starts as a list, but it's active.
Yeah.
It has to be dynamic. I mean, think about that house analogy you opened with. Skipping Control 1 is leaving that side door unlocked because you don't even have it on your blueprint. The Center for Internet Security, CIS, they put this at position number 1 for a very specific reason.
The domino effect.
Exactly. It's what we call the domino effect.
Walk me through that. Why is inventory trigger a domino effect?
Okay, so imagine you spend $1 million on the best antivirus software in the world.
Top of the line.
You buy the best firewalls money can buy. You hire the best threat hunters. But you have a server in a closet somewhere that was set up 4 years ago by a guy named Steve who quit, and it's not on your inventory list.
Good old Steve's server. It's always Steve.
It's always Steve. So because it's not on the list, your fancy antivirus software isn't installed on it.
Of course.
Your patch management system doesn't know it needs to update the operating system. Your monitoring tools aren't watching its traffic. It is completely invisible to your defenses.
But not to the bad guys.
But it is highly visible to an attacker scanning your network.
Yeah.
If you fail, Control 1, every other dollar you spend on security is wasted, at least regarding that one device.
That's a powerful way to frame it. You can't patch a ghost.
Precisely. And in a modern network, ghosts are everywhere. It's not just physical boxes anymore. It's a virtual machine spun up in the cloud for a test and then never spun down.
Or a smart thermostat.
It's a smart thermostat connected to the corporate Wi-Fi because the office was cold.
Exactly. So the inventory isn't just, do we have 50 laptops? It's more like, what is the entirety of our digital footprint at this exact moment?
That's the key insight. That's
Yeah.
it. If you don't have an accurate real-time inventory, you are flying blind. And attackers know this.
Right.
They aren't looking for the hardest way in through your heavily monitored firewall. They're looking for the forgotten way in.
Which brings us to the horror stories. I think we need to ground this in reality because the reports we read regarding 2024 to 2026 are, they're sobering.
Yeah.
We keep seeing this term shadow IT. I feel like I know what it means, but give us the strict definition so we're all on the same page.
Sure. Shadow IT is basically any system, device, software, or application that's used inside an organization without explicit approval or even the knowledge of the IT department.
Like the marketing team buying their own server because IT was too slow.
That's the classic example. Or it's the developer spinning up a cloud bucket on their personal credit card to run a test.
And lately, there's a new flavor of this. Shadow AI.
Which is an exploding frontier of risk. It's terrifying. But before we even get to the AI element, I want to look at the hardware side, because the Salt Typhoon case is a perfect example of why this boring inventory stuff matters so much.
Right, Salt Typhoon. This was that huge espionage campaign, late 2024 into 2025.
Major U.S. telecom providers were compromised.
It was all over the news, but I think people missed the how. What was the actual entry point?
They targeted the network plumbing. We are talking about routers and switches,
The beige boxes in the rack.
the beige boxes in the rack that just blink and pass traffic. People forget they are computers, they have operating systems, they have vulnerabilities just like your laptop does.
So these devices weren't on the active watch list?
In many cases, no. They were considered infrastructure, not endpoints, so they weren't being monitored with the same level of scrutiny as, say, the CEO's laptop.
So the attackers found a vulnerability.
They exploited vulnerabilities in these devices
Yeah.
and just hung out. They were capturing network traffic. Because the inventory and monitoring controls were weak on those specific asset types, the bad guys had a persistent backdoor.
It's wild to think that the backbone of the internet, the routers themselves, were the blind spot. It feels like forgetting to lock the hinges of the door.
It happens constantly, and it's not just obscure hardware. I mean, look at the Okta breach from 2024. That one feels very relatable to anyone listening who mixes their work and personal life.
This was the one involving the personal Google account.
Correct. And this is where the definition of an asset gets really tricky. In this case, an employee used their personal Google account on a company-managed laptop to log into the Chrome browser.
Which, let's be honest, a lot of people do. You want your bookmarks, your saved passwords, your history. It's just convenient.
It's totally convenient. But by doing that, they bridge the gap. That personal account became a gateway.
How so?
Attackers compromised a personal Google account. And because it was synced to the browser on the work machine, they were able to pivot to the company's support system.
So the asset here wasn't just the laptop. It was the browser profile. It was the account itself.
And the failure was in Control 1.2, addressing unauthorized assets. The security team didn't have visibility into the fact that a personal, unmanaged account was acting as a bridge on a corporate device. They didn't inventory that connection.
That seems so granular. You have to track the hardware, the software, and even the user account syncing to the software. That sounds exhausting.
It is the level of depth required today. And if you think tracking Google accounts is hard, let's talk about the shadow AI stats you mentioned earlier.
Oh, this is the one that, yeah.
This is the statistic that made my jaw drop.
The prediction was that by 2025, 20% of all data breaches would stem from unauthorized use of AI tools.
1 in 5. That is a massive chunk of the pie.
It is. How is that happening?
It's driven by good intentions. That's the irony. Employees want to be efficient. They find a new AI tool that summarizes PDFs or optimizes Python code. They don't wait for IT to approve it. They just paste company data into it.
And there was that specific stat about healthcare that really worried me.
Yeah.
Nearly 40% of healthcare professionals encountered unauthorized AI tools being used for direct patient care notes.
I mean, just think about the implications of that for a second. You have sensitive patient data, HIPAA, protected stuff, being fed into a public, unvetted AI model because a doctor wants to write notes faster.
And that AI model is now a shadow asset.
It's a shadow asset holding your most sensitive data. And from a Control 1 perspective, The hospital IT admin has zero idea this is happening.
Zero. It's an invisible open door. You can't secure the data if you don't even know the application exists.
The firewall can't stop a doctor from pasting text into a browser window if the browser is allowed to go there.
We also saw this with the Internet Archive breach in 2024, the Wayback Machine. That was a tough one for the Internet community. I use that site all the time.
Me too. 31 million accounts exposed. And the culprit, a forgotten GitLab configuration file.
A configuration file. Explain that to someone who doesn't code. How does a single file cause a breach like that?
Think of it like a set of keys and a map to the bank vault left on a park bench.
Okay.
A configuration file often contains authentication tokens or API keys, essentially the passwords that let servers talk to each other. A developer likely used it, forgot to delete it or secure it, and just left it exposed on a development server that wasn't being strictly inventoried or scanned.
So it was just digital litter.
Dangerous litter. And because it wasn't on the critical asset list, nobody noticed it was exposed until the attackers found it. It's a classic case of we didn't know that was there.
It really highlights that asset inventory isn't just physical boxes. It's code, it's accounts, it's virtual configurations. And speaking of physical consequences, we have to talk about the water and wastewater facilities.
This has been a chilling trend from 2024 through 2026. We've seen pro-Russian actors and other groups targeting PLC's programmable logic controllers.
For the non-engineers listening, what is a PLC?
It's a small, rugged industrial computer. Its only job is to control a physical process, like open this valve or start this pump or mix these chemicals.
And these used to be completely offline, right?
Exactly. They were air-gapped, meaning they were never connected to the internet. But for convenience, operators started connecting them so they could monitor the water levels from home.
And I'm guessing these PLCs weren't on the standard IT patch list.
Many of them are 10 or 15 years old. They run ancient software. They often still have default passwords like 1234. If you don't inventory them as internet-facing risks, you just don't patch them.
And suddenly an attacker across the world can overflow a water tank.
Or shut down a treatment plant. The stakes are physical.
The cost of these ghosts, whether it's a PLC or a rogue AI account, is staggering financially too. I'm looking at the numbers here. Breaches involving shadow IT cost an average of $670,000 more than other incidents.
Yeah.
Why the premium?
It comes down to time. The metric is time to identify and contain.
Okay.
If I break into your house through the front door and trip the alarm, you know instantly. The police are there in minutes. The damage is minimized.
But the side door.
If I sneak in through that forgotten side door and hide in the attic, I could be there for months. That's the Hertz and Clio Communications example from 2025.
Yeah.
The attackers were inside for ages, right?
For months, yeah, exfiltrating data the whole time.
Exactly. If you don't know a device exists, you aren't looking at its logs. You aren't seeing the anomalies. You're searching for a needle in a haystack, but you don't even know where the haystack is.
Yeah.
That delay allows attackers to steal more data, plant more backdoors, and cause way more damage. That's where the extra cost comes from.
Okay, so we've established the problem. The invisible open door is expensive, dangerous, and it's way too common. Let's pivot to the solution. How do we actually fix this?
Right.
The sources outlined 5 safeguards for Control 1. I want to break these down because inventory sounds simple, but getting it right is, it's technical.
Right. We need to move from checking a box on a form to actual real visibility.
Okay, safeguard number 1. Enterprise asset inventory. This is the list.
It is the list, but the critical requirement here is that it has to be maintained. It cannot be a spreadsheet from 2023 that you found on a shared drive.
No.
It needs the device name, the owner, the IP address, and its status. The rule is binary. If it touches data, it is on the list. No exceptions.
Safeguard number 2. Address unauthorized assets. I'm calling this one the bouncer.
That's a good analogy. You need a process automated if possible that constantly asks, did anything new show up today?
But practically speaking, what happens if something new does show up? Say, I plug in a new gaming laptop to the office network.
Ideally, the network detects a new MS address, that's the hardware ID, checks the list, sees it's not there, and quarantines it.
So it cuts it off.
It cuts it off from the important stuff. You might get internet access, but you can't touch the corporate file server. Or, in a less automated setup, it sends an alert to the admin saying, hey, new device detected. You can't let strangers sleep on your couch for a week without asking who they are.
That makes perfect sense. Okay, safeguard number 3, active discovery. This is the searchlight.
This is where you get proactive. Active discovery tools scan your network IP ranges. They knock on every digital door. Hello, is anyone at IP address 192.168.1.5?
And if something answers.
If something answers, the tool logs it. This is how you find that server Steve set up 3 years ago.
Is there a risk there? I've heard some old equipment, it crashes if you scan it too aggressively.
That is a very real risk, especially with those PLCs we talked about or old medical equipment. If you ping them too hard, they can fall over.
So you can't just rely on that.
You can't rely only on active scanning. That's why you need safeguard number 5. Passive discovery.
Skipping ahead to the listener.
Right. Passive discovery doesn't knock. It just sits on the network wire and listens to the traffic passing by. It's like a wiretap.
I see.
Eventually, that old medical device will send a packet of data. The passive tool sees it and says, aha, I see a device talking, even though it didn't answer when I knocked.
So it's closing the gaps. And we skip safeguard number 4, DHCP logging.
This is the paper trail. DHCP is the protocol that assigns an IP address to a device when it joins the network.
It's like the reception desk.
It is the reception desk. If you log those transactions, you have a perfect record of every single device that asks for an address, even if it only stayed for 5 minutes.
So by combining these, the list, the Banser, the searchlight, the paper trail, and the listener, you get a full 360-degree view.
That's the idea. And there is a surprising upside to this that the CFO will love. It's not just about security. It's about waste.
I saw that in the report. Identifying ghost assets can actually save money.
Huge amounts. I mean, companies pay for software licenses on computers that don't exist anymore. They pay maintenance contracts on servers that were unplugged last year. If you have a perfect inventory, you can stop paying for the stuff you aren't using.
So Control 1 basically pays for itself.
In many organizations, yes, it finds the bloat.
Speaking of bloat, let's talk about implementation. Because for a small business or a team without a massive SOC, a security operations center, doing all this sounds like a lot of work.
It can be overwhelming.
Active discovery, DHCP logging. It sounds heavy.
It can be. And that is the trap. People see inventory, and they try to buy $1 million tool that takes a year to set up.
This is where the approach from CyberOpSource comes in. Their philosophy caught my eye. Build real cyber resilience without the enterprise bloat.
It is refreshing, isn't it?
Yeah.
They recognize that most companies are not big banks. They don't have unlimited budgets. So their whole assessment strategy is based on CIS version 8.1, but they filter it through a lens of security per dollar.
I love that metric. Security per dollar? What does that look like in practice?
It means they don't hand you a 200-page generic PDF listing 500 things you're doing wrong. That's just paralyzes people.
That's the compliance theater issue.
Right. Compliance theater is pretending to be secure to pass an audit. You have a policy that says we inventory assets, but nobody actually does it. CyberOpSource fights that. They do a discovery phase, an evidence-based assessment. And then, this is the crucial part, they give you a 90-day focus roadmap.
So instead of fix everything, it's fix these 3 things first.
Exactly. They might say, look, don't worry about AI governance yet. You have 3 internet-facing routers with default passwords. Fix that today. It prioritizes the actions that actually close the doors that criminals are actively using.
It addresses the reality of the SMB market, the small and medium business market. You need to move fast, you need to be effective, and you can't waste time on theoretical risks when the side door is wide open.
Effectiveness over busyness. That's the goal.
We have covered a massive amount of ground here. We've gone from the domino effect to the Salt Typhoon routers through the nightmare of shadow AI and down into the 5 safeguards. If you had to distill this entire discussion into one single takeaway for the listener, what is it?
Control 1 isn't sexy. It's not AI threat hunting. It's making a list. But it is non-negotiable. If you get inventory right, everything else, your firewalls, your incident response, your patching, becomes easier and cheaper. If you skip it, everything else you do is just noise.
You can't build a house on quicksand.
And you cannot secure a network you can't see.
So I have a question for you listening right now, and be honest with yourself. Do you actually know every single device connected to your environment right this second? Not, I think so, or we have a spreadsheet from last year. Do you know?
And if the answer is no, or I'm not sure, don't panic. But do realize that fixing that is your priority number 1. Before you buy the next shiny AI security tool, go find your assets.
And I want to leave you with one final, slightly provocative thought to chew on. We talked a lot about shadow AI. If you think you know your network, ask yourself this. What helpful, unauthorized AI tool is your most diligent, hardworking employee feeding sensitive company data into right this second just to help them do their job faster?
That is the question of the year.
Because that employee isn't trying to hack you. They're trying to help. but they might just be opening the widest door of all.
And you can't close it if you don't see it.
Thanks for diving in with us. Check your inventories, hunt for the ghosts, and we'll catch you on the next deep dive.